Good evening. We're going to start now, please. Good evening. I am Ralph Berkeley. As moderator this evening, I welcome each candidate running for Beloit City Council and members of the audience to the 2016 Candidates Forum. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Beloit League of Women Voters, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Area Chamber of Commerce. The forum this evening will be taped and aired before the April 5th election on Beloit Access TV. I request that all cell phones be silenced. For the first part of the forum, questions were prepared by the organizations sponsoring tonight's candidate forum. As the moderator, I will direct the same 3 prepared questions to all of the candidates, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. A timekeeper will indicate when time is up. For the second part of the forum, members of the audience are invited to write questions on the 3x5 cards provided. A member of the sponsoring organizations will collect the questions. Audience questions should not be directed to one specific candidate, nor should the question be of a personal nature. At the end of the question-answer period, each candidate will be given the opportunity to give closing remarks. Closing remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. At this time, I will introduce each candidate for City Council. To my right, Ms. Regina Duncan, Mr. Mark Preuschel, Ms. Anna Kelly. To my left, Mr. James Farringer, Mr. Kevin Levy, and Ms. Sheila DeForest. We will now begin the formal question and answer part of the City Council forum. Candidates, please make sure that all of your mics are turned on. All candidates will answer this question, starting with Ms. Kelly. Okay. The first question: what are some of the official duties and responsibilities of a City Council member?
The responsibilities of the City Council member is to pass the budget, to set policy, to listen to the community. That's it.
Thank you. May I remind you please to talk into your microphone? Thank you.
Is that better?
Ms. DeForest, same question. Would you like for me to repeat it?
No, that's fine. Thank you. Besides the obvious responsibilities to set policy and pass the budget, those are quite large responsibilities. We have a budget of $96.4 million total budget. It's quite a lot of taxpayer money that we have to be stewards over. And we have a staff of over 500 of full-time and part-time and casual employees that we're responsible for. So certainly those are no small tasks. One responsibility of City Council that I think often isn't discussed is the need for us to be the accountability arm. We are charged with making sure that our city manager, who is our designated employee, and the city staff are accountable to the public. And I think that's a really important charge that we have that I take very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan.
I think the role and responsibilities of a City Council member is to protect the interests and general welfare of the city. The City Council sets policy, also the budget, and approves capital improvements. And I look forward to learning more about how our government works and can't wait to offer new insights to our City Council.
Thank you. Mr. Farringer.
What they said. Actually, of course, it's the policy, overseeing policy, setting the policy, which sets direction. Overseeing the city manager and working with staff to work toward that policy. The budget issue is the biggest issue in my personal opinion, and paying attention to that is extremely important. Also, the accountability and reaching out to the citizens, being able to listen to the community. These are all responsibilities.
Thank you. Mr. Preuschel?
Well, there's very little to add to what's already been said. However, we are here to set policy, prioritize that policy, and establish the budget priorities and budget values. The other thing that nobody's mentioned is the tax rates and how we arrive at those. Part of that package is TIDs and tax incremental districts, and manage those funds in a way that benefits the entire city, not just portions of it. The other big thing is overseeing the city manager, where she's our only employee, and through her we hope to establish policy and see those policies executed. And I will just close with that and we'll move on.
Thank you. Mr. Levy?
Also to set policy, but not only set policy, but work to enforce a policy that is set by the city council, working in hand with the city manager and city departments. Also listening to the citizens, but not only listening, but to act on the citizens' concerns that they may have, taking it to the appropriate departments, and once again working with the city manager. Monitoring the funds of the city, looking for different ways to bring in revenue, cutting expenditures, all of this in contingent with, as we say, the city manager, because she is our employee, but also working, supervising her to make sure that she's carrying out the direction that the council wants Beloit to go in. We also advocate for the city, not only within the city, but when we go other places, speak about how well Beloit is and create a positive environment for it, and then bring equity throughout the entire city.
Thank you.
Ralph, I have one more thing.
I'm sorry. Time has passed.
Okay.
Thank you. All candidates will answer this question, starting with Ms. DeForest. What is the role of a city council member in relation to that of the city manager?
Well, as already been mentioned, the city manager is our employee. We employ her to carry out the policies that we set and to direct the staff to implement the programming priorities, the service priorities that we have established as a city council. So a good city manager takes that direction from the city council seriously and consults and collaborates with us. I'm pretty excited about the fantastic city manager that we currently have. And that's part of the reason why I'm running, because I'm so excited that we're moving the city in a positive direction. I want to be a part of that momentum because I feel like we have a strong city manager, very professional, very competent, and who understands that we don't want the status quo. We want to move forward and see some great changes in our neighborhoods, in our public safety, and in our transparency with the community. She gets that vision that we've shared with her, which is part of the reason why we hired her. So I'm excited about the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly.
Well, as always, when Sheila goes first, there's nothing else that needs to be said. There's really not that much that I have to add. I do think there's new city manager is very collaborative, and that's like one of the reasons too that I like to stay on the council.
Mr. Levy.
Can you repeat that question?
I will repeat the question I've been asked. What is the role of a city council member in relation to that of the city manager? Mr. Levy.
Realizing that the city manager is our employee, I liken it to, say, instead of employee, it's more of a partnership to me. Basically, we are coming together, the council and the city manager, working together to motivate our staff, to improve neighborhoods, to influence the city, and working together to see what we can do to make Beloit all it can be. So even though she's our employee and she reports to us, our main goal should be a partnership, that we should be willing to work with her and challenge her as she challenges us to make sure that we're making Beloit the best city possible.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
I was thinking, I would like to echo some of that and just say I think the role of the city manager is to also collaborate with the city council to ensure that we're doing what's in the best interest of the citizens of the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Mr. Proischel.
Well, I think our role in relationship with the city manager is that of a board overseeing the executive officer, and we need to make sure that she's following through and understands our priorities and our initiatives. And I think this new city manager is going to be a great breath of fresh air and bring a lot of new ideas and a lot of new vigor to implementing some culture changes that badly need to be made around here. And I'm looking forward to that. In fact, that's one of the reasons I thought this would be a good time to throw my name in the ring and run, because I think this city manager needs somebody that can bring some of this new ideas to fruition. And that's one thing I've been working for the last 30 years to do. So thank you.
Mr. Farringer?
Well, it is, as Kevin said, it's a collaboration. There's a certain amount of oversight, but there needs to be a great deal of sharing as well. When I met with Lori Curtis Luther, who is definitely going to be a little bit different management style than our previous city manager, Larry Arft, who was, by the way, a world-class city manager and is one of the reasons why Beloit is in such a good shape. Lori will bring, again, a different management style, but a very excellent historical perspective. For instance, I gave her, when I met with her, I gave her the centennial book, the 1836 Book of Beloit, put out by the Daily News, and she was extremely interested in this to gain a base of the history. And this is part of what's going to take to move Beloit forward, continue Beloit's evolution as it moves forward, is that collaboration and being able to give and take with the city manager, as well as share our ideas and what we get from listening to the community and filter it back to her. She only has 2 ears, we have many, and let's try to put that together as well.
Thank you. All candidates will answer this question, starting with Ms. Duncan. What do you feel is the greatest challenge in our community faces, and how do you propose to address that challenge?
Say that one more time.
What do you feel is the greatest challenge our community faces, and how do you propose to address that challenge?
I think one of the greatest challenges is jobs in this community. I think as a board, we may have to come up with ways to figure out how to do that. You know, how do we do that as relative as it is to working with businesses, with local businesses, and also the technical colleges, and also the in Beloit College. You know, I think that's one of our greatest challenges.
Thank you. Mr. Farringer?
Well, one of the most important things, I think, is going to be changing a perception in a way. And we all know how great a place this is, but we always hear that other locations don't really see us the same way. I think we need to continue to move forward, and I know that Lori Luther will be able to do this. In terms of the biggest challenge is we only have so much money to spend to maintain the city and continue to grow. There really is not much fat left, and we have to be very careful about cutting muscle, try to add muscle. So growth, jobs, certainly are true, but the government really doesn't. It can provide, well, let's say, capital improvement to Town Hall Road or the Gateway through the tax incremental districts. But that's just part of what the government can do. That's not necessarily all responsibility in terms of jobs. It's building the community, continually to provide the essential services and to try to maintain even the non-essential services, such as the golf course or the swimming pool. We all love them, but we got to pay for them. How are we going to do that? So the economic challenge really is the biggest challenge that I think the city always faces.
Thank you. Mr. Preuschel?
Just one challenge, huh? Okay.
The greatest challenge our community faces.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to call it as violence in our young people, and some of the violence and the culture that permeates that violence. I think that's something we need to address, and we need to address it quickly, and then we need to address the root causes behind that policy, that problem, that issue. The addressing of the problem behind it will take a lot longer. It'll probably take decades, a whole generation, to fix that, what caused that problem. But in order to move forward, we got to bring everything else together, the jobs issue, the development, the historic problems that brought about some of the things that have contributed to the malaise, the hopelessness that some of these kids feel, this abandonment, this neglect. And we've got to stop that, and that's going to take a lot of work from a lot of people, a lot farther beyond in this city. But in the immediate time, we need to address those problems and violence and crime in our streets, and that's one of the things that we've endeavored to do. We've made great progress in the last 9 months. We need to continue making progress. We need to have a sense of urgency and take a new look at these things. And we've already done that. We need to keep doing that. And that's another reason I'm up here. But there's a lot more reasons. And there's a lot more problems. We're in great shape in a lot of ways. When you ask me to name one major problem, I hate focusing on one thing because that means you're going to ignore something else. Anyway, that's what I'll call it right now. Thank you.
Mr. Levy?
One word, image. When you pick up the paper, you're usually seeing all the negative things that are going on in the city. But if you go outside the city to other cities, you will hear people often say what a great city Beloit is. So one thing we need to do is start building up Beloit from inside, getting our citizens to realize what a great city they are involved in, promoting all the positive activities that we have. We have Holidazzle, we have Biff, our schools are great, our downtown is fantastic, our riverfront, we have the Gateway. We have a lot of positive things going on in the city, and that's what we need to promote. We have outstanding volunteers. I am very proud of the people of Beloit that when we face a crisis, we don't sweep it underneath the rug. We put it on the table, we deal with it. And this image is one that we need to overcome, but it starts from within, that we talk about it from inside Beloit and spread it abroad. So I think when we talk about bringing jobs here, all of that plays part in our image because that's what businesses are looking for. What kind of image do you have? So if we improve the image, then I think we will be fine.
Ms. Kelly?
So as far as the greatest challenge that comes to the city, it's always the budget because there's competing priorities and how the money needs to be spent. And the budgets are tighter every time. So I echo the image situation. I also think that there are jobs coming to Beloit, but most of these people are not living in Beloit. And we'd love to be able to find a way to get the people who are working in Beloit to actually live in Beloit. I think we would have a different makeup in the city that would help everybody if people who were actually working here would actually live here and be part of this community. So that's kind of one of my important topics.
Mr. Forrest?
Thank you. I think the greatest challenge for any city councilor is that magic balancing act that we have to do. We're asked to do more with less every year. And a thoughtful city councilor has to consider the entire package. We will not have a thriving city if we ignore any piece or component of this puzzle. We need safe neighborhoods. We need ample employment opportunities. We need positive amenities like a modern library and beautiful parks that keep people here and want to live here. We need all those pieces in place, and so it's a juggling act to constantly try to figure out how to balance all those. And I worked very actively on the pieces that I thought were weaker, specifically our strong neighborhoods and having strong neighborhood development, on our public safety, not having enough police officers out in the community, interacting with our community, developing that confidence and trusting relationships. I've worked really hard on the job training pieces. As a member of Community Action's Board of Directors, bringing some of those job training programs to Beloit that we so desperately needed. We now have a construction job training program that just graduated recently 50 Beloiters who are now in the construction fields, making more money than I'm making. We've got CNC and welding programs. So trying to create job training for those high demand fields is part of that. All those pieces have to come together. We can't just have one issue that we care about and we focus on. A thoughtful city councilor has to consider all those competing interests. How do we balance it? How do we make those tough decisions when at the end of the day our budget is strained more and more? So that is the never-ending question. And honestly, as this next year comes in front of us, we are probably going to have to look at some cutting. Some of our programs that we're used to and that we love having, but we have to constantly juggle what are those priorities. So that is what I think the greatest challenge is. Thank you.
The next set of questions will be selected at random by the moderator and directed to a specific candidate. The candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. If other candidates wish to answer the same question, they will have 30 seconds to respond. The first question selected will go to Mr. Forrest. What would you recommend to improve collaboration and communication between the City Council and the School District Board of Beloit?
This is a really important, one of those pieces in a thriving city is strong schools. And I'm thrilled with the referendum that was passed. The City Council was supportive of that because we understand that our economic development and our vitality is directly linked to how strong our schools are. And I have been a big proponent of regular meetings with our school board members. We haven't had as many of those recently, but our city manager, Lori Curtis Luther, has received that directive from us that we want more frequent collaborative meetings with the school board, with the town of Beloit, with the city of Janesville, that we want to make sure that we're communicating and talking with each other, because our welfare, our destiny is all tied up and wrapped up in each other, and we have to be supportive of where we're headed, be on the same page. And so I feel really strongly that we have to communicate and have those frequent meetings to really talk things through. One thing that I've worked really hard on in the last 8 years is trying to bridge that gap between the towns and the city of Janesville and city of Beloit and the school board. At my request of the first City of Beloit, City of Janesville City Council meeting was held. Now we're meeting on a more regular basis. We have in the past had quarterly meetings with school board members, and those, like I said, have not been as frequent. And that's where it takes a strong city council and a city manager who understands our directive to say we need to have those meetings and really communicate with each other. And I think it's important that city councilors understand all the issues faced by the school district and faced by the school board. So we have to be well versed in all of these issues. You know, we need to know about everything from how school funding impacts the quality of programming that's provided with the schools, to how bulletproof vests work and what kind of bulletproof vests we should have and what kind of snow plow heads we should be looking at. And I mean, city councilors, we're kind of a jack of all trades. We have to know and be well versed in lots of different areas so we can make intelligent decisions, to help move the city forward in all of the important aspects of it. Thank you.
Are there other candidates wishing to answer this question?
Mr. Berkeley, I would like to just add a couple. I think that's going to be very important, because as we look at bringing businesses into the city, they're going to also not only look at our image, but look at our schools. They're going to look at test scores. They're going to see what kind of students are we producing. And I think it's very important that the two entities come together and meet. And even when I was on council before, there was a period of time where we had high school students coming to city council meetings to see how city government works. And I think that shows them that they have a vested interest in the community where they live, because once they graduate, we want them to come back to the city. So it only behooves us that the two entities work together to see how can we get our students back to the city to make us what we want to be.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer that question?
Yes, Mr. Berkeley. I totally agree with the idea of collaboration. One of the, and as Kevin mentioned, I think I've seen in the last year more high school students attending city council meetings and various other meetings. I know I've seen some at my plan commission meetings also. One possible reach out would be a Citizens Academy. I was a graduate of the first Beloit Citizens Academy, which was a Jane Wood initiative, which it provided primarily at the Rotary Center, a dialogue and actually an educational experience with all of the city departments, from the city manager down through streets and everything. And it really is an effective means of engaging people with the city, and I believe that would be just a minor way of a possible pathway to engage the students. As far as the collaboration meeting with the school board, again, it's a two-way street.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ferringer, the 30 seconds
all
are
right.
up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, Mr. Preischel?
Yeah, I think since it's often confused amongst our citizenry that we are separate from the school board, it's probably a good idea we get together and talk on a regular basis and have substantive discussions. Most of the voters are out there wondering what I'm going to do about buses, and it's like there's nothing I can do. The bus is run by the school district. But we need to collaborate. We need to collaborate on a lot of projects, and we need to have coordinate street repairs. We got a bridge coming out in this year down by, or next year by Beloit Memorial High School. Then we got to coordinate the doing of that so it doesn't interfere with school. There's constant projects, but in the eyes of the public, as a public relations or as a branding thing, it's all Beloit. Nobody cares if it's Beloit School District or Beloit City Hall or Beloit Downtown. It's all Beloit in the eyes of the public. We have to work to make sure that we're all on the same page and going in the same direction.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer that question? Hearing none, we'll move forward. The next question goes to Ms. Duncan. As a member of the City Council, how would you demonstrate leadership in the community?
I think I would demonstrate leadership by, I think it's important to listen to the citizens. I think the city council is faced with a lot of different challenges and issues and ordinances that come before us. So I think the best thing we can do is to listen to the citizen, get all the information, and if we don't know it, go research it, and then from there make an informed decision. Because we have to remember that as we sit in these seats, we we're responsible for doing what's in the best interest of the city of Beloit.
Any other candidate wishing to answer this question? Mr. Forrest.
Thank you. I think partly what comes with leadership is humility. To understand, and I echo and I agree with what Mrs. Duncan has said, that we need to be able to listen. We're here to represent the residents of the city and their concerns, and that takes humility, that we're willing to listen even if we might initially disagree, and we're willing to consider all perspectives as we weigh in on the decisions that are made. And good leadership takes some humility, and it takes some courage to do what's right, even in the face of it seeming unpopular. So that's a delicate balance. And I've been humbled to learn about and reconsider my stance and positions on particular issues or topics once I've received more information, once a resident has pointed out to me something that I hadn't thought of in the
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you.
Time is up. Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer the question?
May I?
Yes. Did you answer? No, you didn't. Go ahead.
It just seems like it. I think in your role as a city councilor, you need to take responsibility and respond to citizens and their concerns. Listen, but in the larger sense, as a leader in the community, you are an ambassador of the community, and you're charged with the public face because you are the representative. And as far as you don't want to let it go to your head, as Sheila said, but you do want to make sure that you are out there presenting positive news about the city of Beloit and taking positive and constructive steps to make sure it's going to be better. And responding to citizens in a way that is understanding, thoughtful, and maybe have to explain some hard things to them. So you have to have that level of knowledge and that level of courage to be able to talk to the facts and stick with that. Thank you.
Ms. Kelly?
Well, as city council, we need to be visible. I mean, we need to be everywhere. I think we have to be the biggest cheerleaders for Beloit. We represent Beloit, and everybody has to be able to get a hold of you if they need to, if they can talk to you, if they need to feel like you actually care for what they have to say, even if you have to give them bad news. But I think we need to be there. We need to be the face of Beloit, and people have to know that we really truly care for what's going on, and that we feel like Beloit, it's going where it needs to go.
Any other candidate wishing? Mr. Farringer?
I totally agree with Anna on this as far as being out and about and being visible. One of the great things about some councils that I've seen in the past is they're shared. You can't really be everywhere, but you can share responsibilities by being in places that the citizens see you and also that you are able to communicate with. I think also the leadership is it's learning, always being open to learn, whether it's what the person before you is saying or what's going on with the patchmobile on the streets of Beloit. So it's a huge encompassing possibility, and I like the idea of sharing it. I know that in my capacity before.
I'm sorry, Mr. Farringer,
okay.
time is up.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Levy?
Just, I would like to just add one word: respect. That as a leader, you have to respect others. You have to go out and respect everyone in the community. I like being visible, and not only at functions, but in neighborhoods as well. Previously, when I was on council, Councilor Dench, Councilor Haynes, and myself, we would spend the evening just walking in different neighborhoods to actually talk to citizens to see what their concerns were. Everyone does not make it to a function. Everyone does not make it to City Hall. So instead of sitting down here saying, come to us, we actually went to the streets to see what the residents really were talking about and what they really wanted. So be respectful and be honest. If someone asks you a question and you don't agree with it, be honest and let them know. The worst thing that you can do is make up something. I'm just believe in being honest.
Thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Farringer, and the question is, as a member of the City Council, what would you recommend to address the high unemployment rate and the lack of jobs in the community that pay a livable wage?
I think that in terms of what the council can do, the council, again, oversees the operations of the city to capital improvements. To a great percentage of the capital improvement budget is devoted to community development. And that sort of community development is, a lot of it's infrastructure, the roads, the bridges. A welcoming environment. As far as what we can actually do for providing jobs, well, we can't hire a whole lot more city employees because we don't have the money for it. So we have to work with the private sector, and to do so is with the, again, it's the perception, the amenities, the parks. All of the things that make Beloit Beloit, in terms of the solid part of Beloit, is what the council does. Beyond that, it's, again, providing the best environment to encourage the development of jobs. As far as wages, well, if we have better wage-paying employers who are encouraged to come to the city because they understand what a wonderful place it is, then we'll see wages rise and neighborhoods develop in a positive fashion. The housing stock will rise, and we'll move forward in a positive fashion then.
Thank you. Any other member or candidate? Yes, Mr. Levy.
One thing you could do is recruit businesses that will pay a livable wage. You can do that by offering incentives, by saying we want you to have a training program when you come here, part of the incentive package. We want you to guarantee that you're going to maintain so many employees at this livable wage. And if they fall below that, then you charge them according to the incentive that you paid them. But there are things that we can do to get companies in here to pay a wage and not just accept any company that's going to come in here and say, we'll give you 100 jobs, but at a minimum wage. We need to hold them accountable that if they want to come here and we want people to be paid a decent wage, then it's going to be up to the council to make sure that that happens when new businesses want to come to the city.
Thank you. Anyone? Mr. Forrest?
Thank you. We've had some great recent economic development success, even despite the tough economy, locally, regionally, with Pratt Industries and Frito-Lay's 30,000 square foot addition, and North Star radioisotopes, and the solar field that's going up with Alliance. So we have some good things going on. And we can't ignore our small businesses. They are the backbone, the foundation of our local economy. And I think the city can make a lot of strides in being more customer service friendly. We have not always, in my opinion, been very concerned about the welfare of our small businesses. We've been very focused on big industry, and that's important, but we can't ignore our small businesses. That has to be part of the equation. I mentioned how critical job training is. A lot of the efforts we make to recruit industries in, they look at our workforce and see if they're skilled with the kind of skill set that they need, and if they don't, they move on. So the job training piece is also... Sorry.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to answer that question? Ms. Kelly?
So along with what Mr. Levy said about having companies and getting incentive to get jobs here, that's where the partnership with the school district comes in. They have a great program where they try to find out what industry needs to train our youth and to be able to get those jobs. Otherwise, you have a disparity about what the jobs that are coming and the jobs that we have people trained to do. And I forgot what else I was going to say.
Anyone else wishing to answer that question? Thank you. Our next question will be for Ms. Kelly.
Give me a good one.
The strategic plan for the city includes a goal of recruiting a diverse workforce. What would you recommend to enhance or improve the process?
I think as we have a pretty diverse council, I think having that be given to the okay, I'm going to start again. As I have, my English is not my first language. I get all tangled up when I get nervous. So how can we attract people to the city? This is a great city to be diverse in, I think. I think we can do a better job of trying to recruit people to come to the city of all kinds of ethnicities. I know there's things going on in the school district to attract a diverse employment base. And I think there's been talk about going together with businesses and the school district to recruit when they're looking for jobs. I think we can do a much better job of that. I think we have a huge Hispanic population, and I think we need to try to we service the Hispanic population as a city, and we need to be able to be there for them. And in order for them to be able to be really part of this community, we need to be able to communicate with them. Otherwise, they'll feel disenfranchised. And we have a lot of small businesses that are Latino-based. I think we, as a city, we can do better at making them feel how it works here in Beloit.
Any other candidate wishing to answer that question? Mr. Levy.
I would simply say eliminate excuses. Oftentimes we can find every excuse in the book that we don't want to do something. We need to eliminate the excuses. And then also promote from within. We have several people that can be promoted that would create opportunities for other individuals who may want to be a police officer. But they're not going to come to the city if they see that we have a diverse pool of police officers, fire department, DPW workers, but they're not being promoted. What would entice them to come here if they say, if I get part of that staff, I'm not going to go anywhere but stay at the entry level? So eliminate excuses and promote from within.
Someone else? Mr. Forrest? And then
Thank
Mr.
you.
Purcell?
Since I only have 30 seconds, one thing, this is complicated and multifaceted. It doesn't take one quick fix. It's lots of approaches. But one specific directive that I've asked our city manager to consider is how we hire our seasonals. In the past, lots of times it was current city employees who had their sons or their daughters apply for the seasonal summer jobs, and they got hired, and we were reinforcing kind of the culture and the racial and ethnic makeup of the people that work here. And so I've asked her to really look into that policy in terms of how we decide to hire seasonals, because that's one piece of the employment that we have. We have youth that need summer jobs, and we should not just be hiring our own within the city to do those jobs. So this is a complicated, it takes a lot of different efforts on lots of different fronts. It's not a pat, one quick fix. Thank you.
Mr. Purcell.
I'm going to echo what Sheila said, because I said it at a town hall meeting about 2 months ago. And I asked them if that had changed and it was still ongoing. I didn't think it was fair to the people of Beloit who are paying the taxes that their sons and daughters don't have equal access to those jobs as the employees here, who may not even live in the city. I have nothing against city employees having a shot at them with their kids and stuff, but in all fairness, that should go to everybody. And on top of that, we have a relatively new human resource person. I hope they're still around. And hopefully we'll see some modern, progressive hiring practices instituted with our new city manager in place. And I know one thing that's going to help our police department, and has not helped them yet, because they've hired a bunch of police officers showing no range of diversity, because they've been in emergency mode. They need to get the people on the streets. Now that we have, hopefully we'll have some stability there, and we'll develop an actual hiring program for that and maybe other things. So we have an ongoing employee.
Sorry, Mr. Purcell, time is up.
All right.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Thank you. The next question will be for Mr. Levy. Considering ongoing budget challenges year after year, what do you think can be done to minimize budget cuts to vital services in our community?
Oh, I would like that question.
You might say I like that question. I think moving forward, when I was on council before, we had tough budget situations, and that's going to continue. When we talk about priority services for the city and preventing cutting some of those, this is where I believe in being honest and speaking what I believe. That I believe anytime we look at any type of budget cuts, then everything is on the table. You know, some people don't agree with that, but I believe that to have an effective budget cycle, effective budget situation, we have to put everything on the table, figure out where can we trim the budget in all departments. Because I think it's going to be very fair to every department. It's going to be fair to the community as well. Previously, people would say, well, we can't cut police and fire because that's public safety. That's affecting people's safety. We could have the same argument with DPW as well. They could say if we don't have enough people, we can't get the streets clean in the wintertime, which is affecting people's safety. So that's why I say we need to put everything on the table and take a hard look at it, but you're going to need council members that are willing to make the tough decision. It may not be a popular decision, but make a tough decision and stick with it to help balance the budget.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer this question?
I would like to add that.
Mr. Prochel?
I would like to add that I'm hoping that our new city manager will find more efficient and effective ways of prioritizing our revenue and balancing our budget and finding new ways to a better budget management as far as priorities and efficiencies go. I don't think we should take anything off the table when it comes to cutting budgets. Just like Kevin said, it all should be on the table. You got to remember that we need not only police and fire, we need parks and recreation. We have to balance all of that, and they all are equal. Most people will react and interact with our parks far more than they will with our police and our fire. On a scale of how many people are going to be affected by parks, far more. They're more likely to be in our parks than they are likely to be interacting with a police officer or a fireman. So we got to keep that in mind.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Farringer?
One of the, it's obvious that we want to look everywhere. One of the important aspects in the budget process is also the making sure the general fund balance is maintained. Beloit has been really blessed by excellent management in the financial services part. Eric Miller now does wonderful. To maintain that balance and maintain the city's A+ bond rating is very important, and in a way that helps balance the budget, or at least aids in it. And also one of the other big challenges is the ongoing question of health care, how to afford health care. It's a huge component. And there have been serious changes made in the last year in the way health care is produced for the city and the various things involved with that. So.
Anyone else? Mr. Forrest?
Thank you. I agree. We continue to try to eat at the health insurance nightmare that we have. And we have directed our city manager to keep looking at ways to trim that, and we have in the last year. We also have directed her to more aggressively pursue grant opportunities that are available. So, for example, we'll be applying for the COPS grant for the first time this year, which I don't know why we weren't all along. That could benefit us with actually officers that are paid for by federal funding. So to be more aggressive, we're also pursuing a NARSA grant, which would provide job training and after-school program funding in our most vulnerable neighborhoods through the Community Development Block Grant funds. So our new city manager is really going to town looking for resources to make sure we don't have to cut those vital services.
Thank you. Anyone, Ms. Kelly?
So besides, capital improvement, people are our biggest expense, and I think there's a lot of technology out there that could be helpful, to say the least, to get some things more efficient. I think there doesn't have to be expensive technologies, but there's everything is changing daily, and there's technologies out there that could make things much more efficient. And I know the city manager is taking a priority to look at their IT department and how that functions. So I expect that to be an improvement.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The last question will be directed to Mr. Porchel. What can the city do to encourage more public-private partnerships to improve economic development?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that.
Thank you.
I think we need to take a more customer service attitude in our dealings with everybody, business and individual alike. I think across the board, there's a lot of good things that happen down at City Hall, but there's a lot of things where we make it way too onerous for small businesses to put a bench outside their building. We need to take a customer service, what can I do for you today attitude to businesses coming to town, to small businesses and large businesses both, to anybody that happens to. We need to work on our branding. Beyond that, we need to, everybody should have a positive experience, even if it's a bad time. Oh, I got to pay that fine. Well, at least make it fun. Act like you care. Act like it's not a burden when you come up to the window to pay your fine. Get some training for these people on how to communicate with the public, how to be customer focused, because everybody in this city is your customer. You're paying your wage. Your taxes pay your wage. My being here helps pay your wage. You are no more than a retailer of services, and you need to act like you care about your customers. And I think we need to bring that kind of culture change to our city, and I think our new city manager gets that. And I'm hoping to contribute to it. I could go on and on. I spent the last 16 years working in retail and customer service. My wife works in customer service. We understand it. We know how to make people enjoy buying things they don't necessarily need, but they want them and they smile when they're done. But more than that, it's important that we communicate with everybody so they walk away with a positive feeling as much as possible, whatever we can do. And that's a training issue we need to address. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the question? Ms. Kelly?
One comment. Just the very fact that we have to come up to a window to pay a fine tells you that there's things that need to be done online. They don't have a person behind a window taking money.
And it needs to be a chair-free window.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question? That concludes that portion of the question-answer period. At this time, I will now begin with questions from the audience. Audience questions will be directed to the candidate whose name is randomly selected by the moderator. Candidates are reminded of the 2-minute response time and the 30-second response time if you choose to answer the same questions.
Oh, there's a card. There's a card there. You can write your question down on a card. And Alex, you can just give it to her when you're done with the question.
The first question will go to Mr. Porchel. What authority do city committees have? Do they report to city council manager, or do you see it as collaborative?
Do they report to the city council manager? Every committee has a council rep appointed to it. They are advisory unless by statute they're given power to do more. In our situation, the ones I've always been on have been advisory, with the exception of the cable television advisory. Well, that was an advisory one too, with the exception of, actually none of them. Every one I've been on has been advisory, ad hoc and not, or not. And the city council takes their recommendations and they can vote either up or down on them. We've seen it happen before. We don't necessarily, actually, no, we interact strictly with the city council, and the city council takes our direction. Now, the city staff that works with our committees can go through the process, but if we want to like change an ordinance or something, that's got to come out of our city council members' recommendation. They're the ones who can initiate a change in ordinances and stuff like that. So if I want something changed at the parks level, you know, in our commission, we are going to have to go through our city councilor representative and go through the city council to get, say, an ordinance initialized so that we can move forward with an oddball parking arrangement or something odd that's like that, or we've got to move through the whole process. It's not the only committee I can think of like that is the police and fire, where they would operate separately. Maybe the Board of Ethics and the Appeals Board. I think then even they can be overridden. So yeah. Those would be the ones I can think of that operate separately. But it's all through the city council. We're appointed through the city council. We're appointed through the process. I can't think of anything else that would take me over to the city manager side of things. That would be jumping the gun. That would be jumping fences. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question?
Sheila can correct me.
No, I'm not the expert. I do agree with your estimation of it. I would like to take the opportunity to say that a fully engaged city council rep to the commission, committee, or board is really listening to those members and taking the questions, concerns, ideas they have back to their colleagues. That's part of our role there, is to listen, gather information, and take it back to our colleagues, and then also to share information to those committee, commissions, and board members so they understand what the constraints we have when it gets to our level, the budgetary impact of some of the decisions they're making. So it's kind of a two-way, level of communication. But it truly is between the city council rep, the staff liaison that's advising that committee. The city manager has very little role in that committee, commission, or board.
Yes.
Someone else? Anyone else like Mr. Ferringer?
Yes, I agree with both the other people here. It's been my experience that the city manager is really not engaged in the ongoing process of the commissions, boards, or committees. However, I would disagree a little bit, possibly with Mr. Preishel, as far as the engagement with the city staff. Staff also is really where the rubber meets the committee commission road. Their advice and their desire for approval of the process that they go through is incredibly important. I have, upon occasion, talked to city managers about why, let's say, the planning commission has come to certain decisions, but really it's kind of secondary, as well as the council rep. So I would say that the city manager hears about what's happening a little bit later and is willing to be advised by those advisory committees.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be for Ms. Kelly. What is your vision for the city of Beloit, and why are you running for office now?
What is my vision for the city of Beloit? I think the city of Beloit is doing some wonderful things, and I want it to continue with the path that it's going. There's wonderful things happening in Beloit right now. There's industry coming in Beloit. There's jobs happening in Beloit. The downtown is beautiful. Riverfront is beautiful. The school district's doing a great job. The schools are all new. I want to be part of that. That is the vision it's not just my vision, but it's the vision of a lot of people working in Beloit to make it better. I believe that we need to work in our neighborhoods so that people would fix up the old houses and move back in Beloit and make those thriving neighborhoods around the downtown area. I I don't know. I stopped. Okay, I'm done. That was
Thank
that was
you.
my 2 minutes.
Someone else like to answer? Yes, Mr. Levy.
Simply put, a city of one. That when you talk about the city of Beloit, you no longer think about it as the Merrill neighborhood, the Hackett neighborhood, the Gateway community, the Morgan area, the Cunningham School area. You think about one Beloit, because when you think with that mindset, you're going to be asking yourself, what can we do in all of these neighborhoods to make it as beautiful and as positive and as great a city as we can?
Thank you. Someone, Mr. Forrest.
My simple vision is that our city is a place that every single Beloiter is proud to call their home. That is the bottom line, and all of that, what that entails, whether it's they feel safe here, they feel welcome here, they feel that their needs are met here, they feel they're able to provide for their families here, they're able to recreate here. This is a place where they feel proud to be a Beloiter and call their home. That is my vision.
Thank you.
Well,
Ms. Duncan?
I just wanted to add that I think that it'd be good that where Beloit can be a place where everybody can have a good quality of life. As you know, we've had the different things with relative to safety in our community that have occurred. So to maintain positivity and try to work and try to come together, I think for the good of our community, I think that's best.
Thank you. Someone else, anyone else wishing to answer the question?
Again, it's that positive feeling to promote the vision of, as Kevin said, one city. I mean, I know I believe in Beloit. It's been my life. I loved living here. I want everybody to be able to believe in Beloit as a great place to live, work, play, and prosper. And this is part of the reason that I'm running for city council, to bring my experience and deep devotion toward that goal. So thanks.
My vision of Beloit is one.
Mr. Preschel,
I'm sorry.
allow me to recognize you first,
Okay.
please. Thank you. Mr. Preschel.
My vision of Beloit is to see it move into the modern world and have a new but old pride. We've got a lot of things that are resources that were once industrial are now recreational, and we are going to have a new kind of, I don't want to call it gentrification. That's not the right word, but a very broad-based, something that everybody can afford to be part of. And then you don't have to be, making hundreds of thousands of dollars and living on the lake in Lake Geneva to live on Lake Beloit on 4th Street. And that's what we have potential here. Everybody in Beloit, whether you're working at Frito-Lay or the Staples Warehouse or Walmart, or downtown here at Bagels and More, you are all able to enjoy a community as vibrant, as interesting, and as fun as a place like Lake Geneva or Galena. We have that potential, and it doesn't cost us an arm and a leg to do it. We've done it for the last 20 years, and we can keep doing it. And that's why I'm running, because there's 2 open seats, and I want to make sure that it continues to happen. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will go to
I didn't say what you did.
Mr. Levy. How would you describe city's housing stock, and if insufficient, what would you do to improve it?
Challenging in some aspects. Once again, being honest, when we go to certain neighborhoods, we see challenging housing. We see boarded up housing. We see housing that needs attention. So what do? You work with the neighborhood, first of all. The city has to show commitment into all neighborhoods, because I truly believe that if the city invests in all neighborhoods, the residents in that neighborhood are going to say, the city is taking time to invest in my neighborhood. I want to do something for myself as well. Then we work with the landlords, because all of them are not homeowners, so we work with the landlords. And if we need to have them fix up their properties, that's what we do. We would expect it of homeowners, so we need to expect the same of landlords. So we need to hold people accountable as well. We have a code enforcement department, And some people may say that it's overrated, it's too tough, but I believe that in order to get Beloit where we need it to be, we got to have code enforcement, we got to have commitment from the landlord, but we got to have committed counselors who are willing to go out there, identify these neighborhoods, improve the housing stock, no matter what it takes. Because I truly believe that when we are showcasing the city, that once these potential people who want to bring their businesses to Beloit, when they go back to the hotel at night, I truly believe that they're getting into a rental car and driving around to the parts of the city that Andrew Yankee didn't show them. Because if I'm going to have my business here, I want to see the entire city. So we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to make sure all homes in Beloit are up to par. Because the last thing we want is our citizens that we care about to be living in homes that are unfit, that are boarded up, or as I would say, a home that I would not want to live in myself.
Any other candidate wishing to answer the question? Ms. DeForest.
Thank you. I'd like to share one thing that I've done to address this issue over the last 8 years. That's worked very closely with the Property Managers Association. I specifically wrote grants to bring rental assistance funds into the city because we had tenants that were struggling to pay their rent, and landlords can't invest in their properties if their rent's not being paid. So that's one specific concrete thing I've done. I've also worked closely with the Landlord Association to have summits between city staff and the Landlord Association to address the obstacles and issues that they're facing as well. It's really important that we work collaboratively and not adversarially with that small business sector. We have a lot of rental properties in Beloit, and so we need to further some of those solutions. I also advocated for a change in our housing rehab loans. They used to just be for owner-occupied properties, and now we've made that available for renter properties as well, because the housing stock has to benefit all of us, and so I think that solution-oriented piece is really important. I don't like just the punitive, we're going to slap a fine on you. We also have to look for creative approaches to help people fix up their houses, to help people invest in that money and make that possible. Thank you.
Any other candidate? Mr. Pritchell?
I go back to the customer service. We have an oftentimes adversarial relationship and punitive relationship. We need more carrots and less sticks. We have some bad landlords, then they need to be dealt with. But the good landlords don't need to be punished because we have one policy that applies to all of them. If they're good landlords, we need to work with them and bring them up and bring them along and give them incentives to stick with us and stick with the building. We have to be constructive. And I don't know if we've got enough variability in our policies right now to address that properly. But we do need to have a better, more what can we do for you approach, not this just beat them over the head, and there's no incentive then. We've got to give them a reason to put their money into their housing instead of into our fines to pay somebody's salary. Those monies should be going in to make those houses better. We've got 20 years of history, targeted neighborhoods, and we don't have a whole lot to show for it yet, do we? So we maybe want to change our approach, or at least get some new ideas. Thank you.
Mr. Farringer?
I must disagree a little bit with Mr. Pritchell about what we put into and what we've gotten out of it. I know the former city manager had quite a bit of success with neighborhood stabilization programs, which not only involved necessarily fixing up the house, which often costs a great deal of money and sometimes is being complained about how much it costs, but also to improve the sidewalk, streets, the street lighting around those neighborhoods. It's a difficult project to put in terms of scope because there are so many neighborhoods that have housing stock that maybe hasn't been upgraded in a long period of time. And I also think that the loan program that Ms. DeForest alluded to needs to be publicized more and utilized more, both in rental and owner-occupied housing. There are funds out there, HUD funds, community development block grant funds that should be utilized, and I think can be even to a greater degree.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly.
Yes, so I believe the housing stock in the city, especially around downtown, which is the oldest part of the city, it needs help. It needs help. There's a lot of potential there. But the housing stock is old and it's hard to maintain. But they have good bones. These houses were not cheaply made. You can't even make houses like this anymore. when people come to the city, they have a job, they're looking for a house, they can't find what they need. I've talked to people over and over again, and they say they can't find the house in Beloit. So I think that's one of our many issues, but one of our issues that I feel really concerned about. And do I have a complete answer for it? No, but I would like to be able to work towards an answer or a solution to that. As far as landlords, I know the bad landlords give the good landlords a bad name. And so saying that there's too much rental, I think there is too many home rentals in Beloit as far as houses for rent. I think houses make bad rentals. They're too hard to maintain. So having that great of a percentage of single-family homes as being rentals, I don't think helps us as a city. That doesn't mean that there's not need for rental. I think a lot of people can't afford to buy their own home. That doesn't mean they can't have a place to live, but a house might not be the solution. A house seems to be something you do when you buy a house, when you get ready to settle down.
Any other candidate wishing to address the question? The next question will be directed to Mr. Farringer. With all the new job and industry you cite coming to Beloit, how has our unemployment rate remained so high?
That's the entire question. There's always a certain amount of churn, and there will always be a degree of unemployment. Beloit's traditionally been in this situation. We have to remember that there's been a great deal of change, not only in Beloit, nationally as well, in terms of, let's say, heavy industry, Rust Belt, traditional manufacturing jobs that at one time Beloit Corporation and Fairbanks employed quite a few people. Well, when that goes away, diversification is necessary, and for to absorb everyone in terms of unemployment, in that it takes time, and we're working toward that. I see Beloit working toward that. All we have to do is look at the Ironworks South and see how that Hendricks investment has begun to fill up and almost overflow space. One of the things that's happening downtown is that we have almost a happy problem. We don't have enough parking, so we have to attempt to solve that. As far as the overall numbers, we're working toward a positive direction. And I wouldn't put also too much stock in relative unemployment numbers between one city and another. The circumstances are different in different places.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer the question? Mr. Forrest.
Thank you. Well, the honest truth as I see it is that many of the industries we've recruited in are bringing their employees with them. And the employees they're bringing with them are choosing not to live in our city. And we have grappled with this issue for many years. We're not allowed to require people to live here. And so all we can do is keep letting them know why Beloit is such a great place to live. Keep trying to help them understand how fantastic our schools are, how incredible the amenities are that are here. We've worked really closely with the realtors to help them understand the kind of pitches that they make affect their decisions about whether or not they're going to choose to live here. So this is a complicated issue, which is why I think it's even more important that we don't put all our eggs in the basket of bringing in industry. We have to also look at how do we grow our own entrepreneurs, how do we strengthen our existing businesses that are here and committed to us locally. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other candidate? Mr. Parishal.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the new businesses are coming to town, but their employees are going somewhere else to live. So it skews our numbers. We're not, since the end of the industries and the overseas flight of industry, that unskilled industry, we haven't replaced that with much of anything. And I don't know the answer for that. I don't even know if it's within the scope of the city to find the answer for that. But we don't have forklift drivers anymore. We don't have servicemen. We don't have cutoff operators running shears and stuff. It's all automated. And the people that did those jobs aren't going to go to Black Hawk Tech and become programmers or CAD operators, or the skill set's not there. We're not, those people need jobs, and they need good living wage jobs. And how you're going to get those, we got to solve that as a country because we haven't figured it out. Those people are not going to go off to college and become the new age people. They're just, it's not within the skill set.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer the question?
Ralph, I'm just going to say, I think that what I'm hearing a lot of is that we don't, when people are coming here to Beloit and they're bringing jobs, they're bringing people, like Sheila said, with them. And we ought to have some kind of incentive in place where people are required to hire people who are from Beloit, because we have people who have to travel even to Janesville instead of actually having employment here in Beloit. And then it goes back to the job training. I think we need to have job training for our youth. When Mr. Knight was here, we used to have the OIC program, and the young people were able to have jobs and able to work. And so I think that has a lot to do with those numbers being skewed, why they're so low like that. So just...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be directed to Mr. Forrest. Give us one creative, innovative idea you have for change in the city.
I have lots. So one that I'm particularly excited about is a creative solution to how we're addressing the quality housing stock we were just talking about. What I would like to see, I've been championing this for a number of years, and I think our new city manager has caught the vision. I'm very excited about it. Is actually, instead of just handing a violation to someone that's got a housing code enforcement issue, actually developing a program where we hire and pay our youth to help with some of that housing maintenance for our residents who can't afford it or who are not physically able to do that work. So it might be that they're painting, they're mowing the lawns, they're doing all the work that needs to be done to help make our neighborhoods beautiful. And I love the fact that we're giving youth an opportunity to work. They're earning income, gaining some job experience, and it's helping our residents, and it's strengthening our neighborhoods. It's helping to promote seeing our youth in a positive light. So that's one thing that I'm working on right now, and I'm very excited about implementing that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer the question?
I know what the question was.
What was the question again?
Yeah.
That was...
Give us one creative, innovative idea you have for change in the city.
Mr. Berkeley?
Mr. Feringer.
I'll go back again to engagement, growing the community through communication. As I alluded to before, the Citizens Academy under Jane Wood was just a great educational device to put people together and make them understand how the city functions and what the various responsibilities are, and what the relationship between the citizenry and whatever department or the entire city, in point of fact, would be. So again, that's kind of going back to the past for a vision that I still think works.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing, Mr. Parshaw?
I have a 30-second idea that's not a very big one. I would, I ride a bike around town. I take pictures, probably see me doing that. And when I ride out into the township areas, they use sand on their roads, and it's treacherous on a bicycle. And I would like to see our city offer the town of Beloit the use of our street sweepers for a small fee, whatever it might be. And hopefully the town of Beloit residents will see that and say, hey, we want one of those. Well, you know how you can get one? Talk to us. We need to work on regionalism. And we need to put that out there. We could even put a sign on the side of that truck saying, there's more where this came from. Talk to us.
There you go.
And this is something that we just don't attempt to do. We can't do much as a city. You've got to go out in the township. Dave Wilcox told me back in the 80s, why don't you go out to the township, move out there, and make that impassioned play out there.
Mr. Parshaw, time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be directed to Ms. Duncan. Do you have any specific plans to better integrate students at Beloit College into the community? There are many motivated, intelligent people within Beloit College bubble. Is there something you see worth thinking about? Is this something you see worth thinking about? I'm sorry.
Read that one more time.
Do you have any specific plans to better integrate students at Beloit College into the community? There are many motivated, intelligent people within Beloit College bubble. Is this something you see worthwhile doing? Worthwhile thinking about, I'm sorry.
Okay. I think it'd be good to involve them in the activities that we have. Like recently we had BIF, which was downtown. I think to bring them get them involved in our activities, and also in volunteerism. I can't tell you how many times I've had Beloit College students to join us. As you know, I'm executive director of Merrill Center, and so we've had a number of volunteers to come into agencies such as mine, like Merrill Community Center, and also into our schools, and mentoring and helping with our children. So I think that's a good way to integrate the students from Beloit College into the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Ferringer.
Yes, this is kind of in my wheelhouse, since the reason I'm sitting before you right now is because 50 years ago I first set foot about 100 feet over here off a bus to on a bus station on a street that no longer exists. The bricks that are out there now were still holding up Freeman's Shoe Wall, to attend Beloit College as a class member of the class 1970. And through the wonders of liberal arts education, I lived in Beloit and stayed here. It gave me my career, my bicycle shop, and everything else. It's being friendly and reaching out. And again, I have a 50-year arc of seeing a change. I lived downtown in a building next to Suds when I was going to Beloit College. And very few Beloit College people ventured off campus. Now that building is actually part of the Beloit College programming with ABBA and the other aspects of it. So I've seen more people downtown, again with the bookstore and everything else, being friendly, allowing the engagement of volunteering and offering opportunities for someone, maybe even such as me, to stay here and live here forever. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you. Mr. Levy?
Just a few quick things that I was thinking about. You could have the city manager and various counselors attend their welcome ceremony of Beloit College students on their opening day. We can even go as far as to adopt a student that's in government. Each council person could possibly adopt a student. You can have the college student report out at a city council meeting about what's taking place on the college campus. Then you can also have a report, as I mentioned, at council meetings, but also invite them to serve on city committees, because I think what we have to do is get them involved, but we have to grab them when they first get here. Don't wait till they get here and say, now how can we get them involved, but attend their opening ceremonies, welcoming them, and have applications right there to get them involved. And we have to show them and convince them that they are part of the city and not on the island by themselves.
Mr. Forrest?
Thank you. Some great ideas there. So we are already doing some fantastic things. I love the welcome to our town ice cream socials that we have to welcome Beloit College students right at the beginning of the school year, and I'm always attending those, helping to serve Culver's custard to the students. And they definitely are very integrated in our community organizations. They get lots of practical experience in their fields in our organizations, and we have Beloit College students that also intern with the city staff here. One very specific thing that I'd like to work on to help bridge that gap to get students more immersed in our community and off their little bubble area is to really work harder on developing that bus pass. We've tried that a couple times, and I think we need to be more assertive about it, trying to work with the college to say, hey, let's offer to every Beloit College student a city bus pass to get them off the campus, included as part of their student fees. Maybe we're going to have to give a little more as a city to say we'll come down a lot more on what we're charging for that. But I think just that free bus pass that they have to explore the city and get out to more of these functions and activities is really a critical part of that.
Thank you. Mr. Prussia?
Yeah, I think the path to this integration with the Beloit College students is through like Friends of Riverfront, the Parks Department, and the Downtown Beloit Association. They're all, and even Visit Beloit, where they're using interns all the time. In fact, they're right through the year, not just summer, not just off time. So I think that's one of the best ways to go, and it's important that we give them chances to work in our downtown in proximity to the campus. And the Parks Department offers that opportunity, as well as Friends of Riverfront. So there's a lot of places where volunteers can be encouraged, and I'm sure the college would be willing to work, to promote that if they're not already. So I think it's definitely something we need to take advantage of. Thank you.
Ms. Kelly?
Well, they call it a bubble because they're there, and it's not like they're not. It's like a different world. Kids who go to Beloit College, when they go to Beloit High School, when they go to Beloit College, they haven't even left home, and they feel like they've gone somewhere else. So I think we can welcome them, but I think it needs to be important to the college for them to come to us too. And I think it's been, people are trying, but I don't think it's as easy as just saying, come on down, because we've reached out through BIF to Beloit College forever, and it's tough. It's tough. The kids, they're used to their little bubble. So I think it has to be important to the college too. And I know there's a program, and I forgot the name, that it's working with giving the college kids a real experience in the community.
Liberal arts and practice.
That's what, yeah. So I think that's an important program, and it's fairly new, a few years at most. So I think they've seen some improvement, they make some advances on that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question?
May I just have one more?
No.
Okay. Wow. It was going to be a good one.
One bite at the apple.
All right, well, I'll wait for the apple to come around again.
Can't eat the core, just one bite.
Okay.
The next question goes to, if you're lucky, I'll draw you.
That's right. Come on, baby.
Oh, no, I didn't. This question goes to Ms. Kelly. Should the city of Beloit consider regionalization of the fire services, and why or why not?
I find it amazing that we have a Beloit Fire Department, and then a few blocks there's a township fire department, and a few blocks later there's another town, fire department. I think people have looked into that. I think there's a lot of politics in that, and it's not as simple as just saying let's just put them all together and somebody will run it. Ideally, I think we need to be able to consolidate more services, because we're all paying for the same things in separate places that are not far away, and there's got to be a lot of efficiencies to be made, but those are tough roads to be able to get people to work together and let go of what they feel is their piece. And I don't think we need to stop trying. I think we need to keep trying, but I don't think it's as easy as just wanting to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Preschel.
I think regionalism is the rational thing to do, and I've thought that since as long as I can remember. My parents were on the wrong end of the last time it was attempted back in 1963 or 4, and that's how I ended up living in the city, because they moved us back into town to be amongst a real diverse population. We need to look at perfect opportunity right now with the chief cop retiring and there being no extant chief in this town of Beloit, would be to look at fire or police right now and look at that as an avenue maybe to bridging our police facilities problems. But I think that needs to be pursued with vigor and seriously. It makes no sense for us the city ends at Bayless, for crying out loud. I mean, there's no reason to conduct services this way. I can't imagine how much taxpayer money we could save by not having to trip over each other's routes trying to get from one side to the other side and back and forth. The same applies for the fire departments. I know it's a turf war. I know it's a tough battle. We've had discussions in the past. It's never gotten anywhere. Well, maybe now with shared revenue and other issues on the town side and on the city side, maybe now we can put together a package that makes sense, because it sure makes sense for the taxpayers. Nobody thinks of the town of Beloit or Beloit. Again, it's all one Beloit. Nobody's out there saying, oh, you're from the town of Beloit. Everybody's from Beloit. Half the people on the other side of Bayless think they're in the city, and the town would just assume they thought that. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to answer the question?
No.
The
I'm sorry.
Mr. Farringer?
Yes. It's so true that it is such a turf war, and it's almost illustrative of a 19th century state of government where the way the townships were carved up, and these fiefdoms are difficult to overcome, and there's certain other different animosities as well. There's no question that efficiencies could be gained. So again, it's communication, and we need to somehow strive to overcome these historical impediments. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be given to, pardon me?
It's 10-8.
You want me to stop at this point? Thank you.
We have the talking disease.
Each candidate will now have the opportunity to give closing remarks. Closing remarks will be limited to 2 minutes, and I will begin with Mr. Proischel.
I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Beloit. I grew up on Oak Street on the west side, and then I spent my summers and my after-school hours and my off days on the east side on Keeler and Central. So I know this city very, very well. I've spent my decades riding my bike around, taking pictures. I've seen parts of Beloit few people I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of it from a lot of angles, the warts and all. And yet I've spent the last 20 years, and the last 15 in particular, promoting Beloit. Basically, that's been my hobby. Some people have seen my slideshow on Flickr. There's a couple people here there's a person sitting next to me that's here because of that slideshow on Flickr. And there's been a few college students that have graduated because of that, because of the pictures I've shared of Beloit. I'm running now because there's 2 open seats and we need to keep this progress moving. We need to keep on the same page. We don't need to fractionalize over differences and problems that we've had in the last, recent couple of years. We need to stay together and keep working forward. I've spent most of my time behind the scenes, and I prefer being there. Really, I'd rather not have to run for office, but that's how you get elected, so I guess I got to run. But I really think that it's time for me, now that I'm out of Staples and I'm out of that rat race, I can have the time to dedicate to this job, and I can do that, and I really want to. I think I've encompassed all of Beloit. I'm so average, it's sickening. I don't make a lot of money. I worked in shops for 22 years. I worked in retail for 16 years. I'm not out there. I'm not the guy running some corporate outfit. I'm not at the college running. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a working class guy who knows how to get around and get along. And I read a lot, and I've spent a lifetime learning. And I've spent the last 15 years promoting. It's time for me to get involved at another level and make a difference, make a different difference. And I hope everybody will support me in that endeavor. I'd sure like to be a city councilor. I'd sure like to represent all the sides of Beloit, from one side to the other, and not encompass everything. Thank you.
Time is up. Thank you. Mr. Levy?
First of all, I'd like to thank the Greater Beloit Chamber of Commerce, NAACP, and League of Women Voters for putting this on, and all of you for coming out, being part of this, because this is what's really important. Then let me offer a point of clarification as well. I don't want anyone leaving and thinking there's actually 2 seats open. There's actually 4 seats open for the council. So I want to make sure that we are fully aware of that. We have 2 incumbents running, but this is going to be a tight race. But I want it to be clear that there's actually 4 seats open. With that being said, I'm simply running because I've been on council before. And when I made my farewell speech before, my last words to them were, "You will see me again." So here I am. I'm not doing this for any fame, any glory. I'm doing this simply because I have a passion for this city. Been here all my life. My family's been here. My wife and I graduated through high school. All our kids have gone through the school. I have a granddaughter that's going through the school. This is my home. You can find me always bragging about the great thing that's taking place in the city. We're going to have these tough decisions coming up. You're going to need counselors that's going to be able to make those tough decisions. You're going to need counselors that's going to be able to challenge the city manager when she needs to be challenged. And I don't have a problem doing that. But you're also going to need a counselor that's going to help build Beloit from within. A lot of times we talk about with a new city manager, there's going to be a cultural change, there's going to be a new beginning. The only way there's truly going to be a new beginning is the council is going to have to be part of that new beginning. They're going to have to buy into that new beginning, because I can't sell anything to the city, to the citizens, if I don't believe it myself. So I'm here simply to continue to move Beloit forward in the way that it's been going, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly?
Well, I would like to thank the Greater Beloit Chamber of Commerce, the NAACP, and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I would have thought that after 2 years, this would have been a little easier, but it has not been. I've been in council now 2 years, and I think I have been in planning commission for a long time before that, and so you got a kind of a rhythm of how this kind of city works, but you really don't get to know how it works until you're there. I think just 2 years, there's just a lot to learn, you're not done. I mean, there's always something every time there's a meeting, there's something that you're learning. I would like to stay on because I would like to try to continue following the path that it's been. I've been volunteering for a long time, and I've gotten to know a lot of people, and I listen to a lot of people and talk to as many people as I can. And I feel that I have something to add, even though by listening to me right now, you would know that.
No.
But I have my little thing here. One of the things that I think that I can bring to Beloit is that I'm a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for 25 years. I've dealt with the stuff that small business owners deal with all the time: insurance, employees, clients. And the last 8 years has been mainly just technology, which makes you always have to be learning something new. And I think there's technologies that can be used in the city that would help a lot. And I think it doesn't have to be big. You can start with little things that would just get in the right direction and move on to something bigger. You don't have to change everything over and spend millions of dollars on new systems. You can start with small things that would create a difference in the way we communicate with our citizens.
Thank you.
And I would appreciate your vote on April 5th.
Sorry. Thank you. Mr. Ferringer?
Again, having been here for 50 years, boy, time has flown rapidly. Beloit College gave me the impetus to come here, but Beloit has been the reason that I've stayed. Post my Beloit College career, finding that my English and history majors maybe weren't going to do so much for me, I decided to turn myself to my other passion, bicycles and bicycle racing. I spent 37 years as the owner of Zucchini Bike Shop. Quite a few of those years were spent keeping Mark Prushell's bike on the road. And subsequently, I became interested in the affairs of the city, especially during a council that was rather turbulent times back in the late 90s. And I saw that there might be a need for change and possible betterment. So in the time subsequent to that, I served on the Parks Commission as Vice Chairman, on the Community Development Authority as Vice Chairman, and I'm currently Chairman of the Plan Commission. In addition, I've served as Chief of Staff to two former City Councilmen, Doug Eddy and Marty Dench, and I'm Staff Advisor to Charles Haynes. So through those entanglements, shall we say, I come to know and understand the workings of the city, and I believe that I can add my hopeful devotion and expertise to that. I believe in Beloit, and Beloit's worth believing in. So if you care to choose to vote for me, please do so. I'll take care of you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferringer. Ms. Duncan?
I'm a 28-year resident of Beloit and have been married for 31 years to Tom Duncan. We have 3 children and 5 grandchildren, all raised and educated in Beloit. I attended Beloit College, and I've served as Executive Director of Merrill Community Center for 18 years. I'm in touch with the issues that many of the people in our community are being affected by. I'm a proven leader who's committed to our community and dedicated to the progress of Beloit. And I'm running for City Council because there are a lot of changes happening. And I want to ensure that the city is listening to its citizens and making the best decisions on their behalf. If elected as a member of the City Council, I pledge to spearhead conversations and seek ways to ensure jobs, economic growth, human services, and safety for all Beloit citizens. I am a hard worker, and will bring a fresh perspective to the City Council. I truly, truly love Beloit and have spent my life serving the people of our great community. I am asking that you please vote for me on April 5th.
Thank you. Mr. Forrest.
Thank you. Thank you to the League, the Chamber, and the NAACP for sponsoring this event. And I'd like to personally thank my campaign manager and treasurer, Lorenzo Henderson, for his support. And I want to make sure I thank my family that has supported me in this service so far and has continued to. There have been lots of bright spots this past year, lots of great accomplishments. However, this has been a tough year for the city. It's been tough. It's been tough for our city staff, the city council, and for our residents. And yet, Beloit's can-do attitude always shines through. We are turning the tide because we all love this city. We love this city. We love the people here, and because we love it so much, we will all continue to do right by the city, even when it's uncomfortable. We have demonstrated the gritty courage to stand by what's right, roll up our sleeves, and get to work on it together. I want to be a part of that continued positive momentum. Not afraid to call out what's wrong, because if it's covered up, we can never address it, and committed to being a part of the solution. I want to thank each of you and let you know so many of you in this audience do your own service in our city. I love what was just shared about making a difference. We all make a difference. We all do. And so I appreciate each of you. I truly believe that Beloit is at its best when we put our egos aside, when we're selfless, when we don't just look out for our own family, our own friends, our own church. When we look out for all Beloiters and do what's right by all Beloiters, that's when we're at our best. I want to continue to be a part of that, and I'm asking your vote to please let me to continue to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank each candidate for their participation in tonight's forum. Thanks to the League of Women Voters of Beloit, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Area Chamber of Commerce for providing this opportunity. And thank you, members of the audience, for your active participation.
Yes,
thank you. A good evening.
Thank you all.
Drive safely.